invite you to center in with your eyes open or closed, whatever is most comfortable for you. As we start in on an inner journey, that at some point I will also invite us to send that love where the words of that song guide us. So as you sense your breath in and out, feel the sensation of that breath in your body. Let your body gently shift if it's calling out for that, so that you can settle in even more comfortably to feel supported wherever you are sitting, sensing the back of your body, physically supported where you sit. And for this, I'm going to invite you to let your hands rest open, either at your side or on your lap. And bring your awareness gently to both hands, sensing the back of your hands, where they're resting, either on your legs or just gently at your side. Sense your open palm and your fingers. Just become aware of the sensation around your hands, sensing either where it's held or the air circulating around it. And bring your awareness now to your whole left hand, your thumb and fingers, the back of your hand, your palm, your whole left hand, and visualize resting there a fear, something that angers or worries you, a doubt, a sadness. Feel it hovering just over your hand. See if you can resist letting your fingers clench around it and just remain open. Aware of that fear or that anger, that worry, the sorrow. Just hovering there. Over your left hand. And now sense your right hand. Again, sensing where it rests on your leg or on the seat next to you, sensing your thumb and fingers, your open palm, sensing air circulating around your hand. And visualize now placing just above that right hand a moment you have felt loved. You have felt trust or peace or a simple joy. And feel that now hovering over your right hand. See if you notice a sense of tingling, the energy and air around both of your hands, completely aware of both your left hand and your right hand. And now bring your hands together, palms facing each other but not quite touching. Maybe that your hands are centered over your heart, and sense the energy there. The energy pulsing between your left hand and your right hand. feel the truth, the paradox of being able to hold, to sense both fear and love, doubt and trust, sorrow and joy. Now we're going to practice a beautiful Buddhist meditation, a Tonglen meditation. We're going to embody that by bringing your hands, and for those of you at home, I'll be your partner in this. Just turn your hands gently facing towards someone sitting near you. Again, without letting your hands touch. And if you're not sitting near anybody, just send them forward, knowing that they will energetically reach where they need to reach. And again, sensing your palms hovering near, but without touching, sensing the energy in the left hand and the right hand. Know that each of us has experienced fear, anger, sorrow, doubt, and love, peace, trust, and joy. Letting your arms rest comfortably, your shoulders released from tension, but aware still of the energy in your left and your right. Breathe in someone else's fear, someone else's sorrow, and let it enter the compassion you hold in your heart, and breathe it back out, recycled as love. Breathe in sorrow and breathe out peace. Breathe in hunger and breathe out abundance. Breathe in injustice of every kind and breathe out peace everywhere. As you feel your inhale and your exhale and your hands lifted in blessing of living in the paradox, send your love, breathing in fear anywhere in the world, and send your love over the mountains. Breathe in sorrow anywhere, and send your love over the sea. Breathe in despair and send your compassion into the heavens. And now bring both hands slowly, feeling the energy pulsing between your left hand and your right hand, bringing them into prayer position. Letting your breath dance over your hands. Breath in and out. And feel those gifts returned to you. And so it is. So this morning I'm going to share a little bit about my own journey that is not a prescription for how you should think of your journey, but it illustrates my own walk with things that have caused me to fear or worry, and how that has brought me to today. And so that's the invitation today. One of the aspects, interestingly enough, it was maybe just a languaging thing, is the denials and affirmations that are part of unity teaching. I had to feel in myself what that meant. Because I can deny my emotions of fear, I can deny the worry, and I can just stay really positive and busy and forget that that stuff is out there, or push it aside, tamp it down. But for me, what happens if I tamp down for too long is it comes out sideways till there's steam coming out my ears and my head's blowing off and some popping of an emotional zit, as my daughter once accused me of doing, and she was correct. It's a gross image, but you get what I mean, and you get what she was reminding me I had just done. And so how do we balance not denying that those emotions are there? Sometimes they're there for a good reason. They might be there to teach us something. Fear teaches us caution sometimes. Don't touch that hot stove, you're going to burn your hand. Anger can teach us to set healthy boundaries and not let people push us around in ways that are not healthy. But we can deny the power of those emotions to keep us locked in their grip. And that is the power of denying that. And so over the course of my talk today, I'm going to kind of invite us at some point in a little while to a community affirmation. But the things that trigger us into, I need to deny the power of that thing, to not stay held there, are individual. And so I invite you, there are papers. Don't get too locked into taking notes, but there are papers around, little post-it notes or notebooks and paper and pen. When we get to the point where maybe you're going to want to jot something down. So I added a couple of slides. Did not catch the one that about Pete's date there. But Phil, who is our, guru of AV, is going to help me out today. And Phil, you can show me that first. So this is Kian. Again, this is my story, but I invite you into thinking about your own. Kian lives in the Philippines. And in 2016, I'm going to try not to move my head so much. I was newly ordained by One Spirit. I was feeling underemployed financially and overemployed, doing about 3 or 4 different, either a side gig or subbing or whatever. Overemployed time-wise, underemployed financially. When I met Kian through a program called Unbound, in which you commit to a monthly sponsorship of a child or an elder around the world. It has been, for me, so this first picture is Kian at the age of 7 or 8, when I first met her through photos and then letters. And this is the most recent letter I got of Kian this week. She's about to turn 16. My relationship with Kian has been a journey of deepening my trust in the divine flow of my life. When I committed to supporting her, it was a conscious move. It was anchored in my trust in my future, of kind of staking my claim in my future, and trusting that by partnering with God in a deeper way. I had just been ordained. I was still kind of levitating from all of that, rich, juicy goodness of that last year at One Spirit. But it was my way of trusting that if I said yes to my sacred purpose, God was going to lead me forward. The morning that I heard about this program, I had a physical sensation of yes. I not only need to do this, I want to do this. Despite what my bank account looked like, that yes, that physical sensation of my whole body responding came from both my sense of abundance, of being lovingly supported in my life, because I am. I was then, I am now. But it also came from recognizing that my fear of scarcity was teaching me something. They were nudging me, both of those things. The left hand and the right hand were nudging me to center in, to get creative with God, to find a way that my livelihood would be something that came forth from my being. In 2016, I couldn't imagine that this was a part of my life to come. But that is one of the seeds that brought me here. But I needed to trust that there was some message in that fear, not to stay there, not to let fear let me close in on myself with worry, but to trust that that desire for more stability was part of what was going to feed me. And so saying yes to Kian was part of that. In Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics, which I'm going to read a little bit about that today. To be fair, I have not read the whole book. I skipped ahead. I jumped right to the chapter on giving. And I found that chapter in deep conversation with an article in this month's Unity magazine. Dennis, I'm reminded of the talk you gave a couple of summers ago about if you haven't read it, you don't know it's, whatever the title was, it was perfect about, check out Unity magazine. Ogun Holder has an article in there, and I find these two things in conversation with each other. So that yes, that Kian is one of the moments of me trusting that. Here's how Eric Butterworth talks about spiritual economics. The purpose of life is not acquisition, but unfoldment and personal development. Giving does not refer simply to money. It also involves your work and the many ways in which you make contact with life. Giving is basically an attitude with which you touch things. I hadn't heard of Eric Butterworth in 2016. But that way of knowing that my whole being, my sacred purpose, I wanted that to be involved in how my livelihood was also unfolding. Not every job grants us that in such clear-cut ways as this does. I get that. I have been many things, worn many hats. Substitute teacher, not so fulfilling. Right? But there are ways then that we are asked to approach that, even substitute teaching, with a sense of giving. I am giving my all to this. He goes on to say, God is the divine givingness of the universe. And you are created in the image likeness of this divine givingness. You cannot make any sense out of life or realize the free flow of substance in your experience until you begin to see yourself as a giver. In your spiritual quest, you are seeking to establish yourself in unitive relationship with the divine flow. Life for the whole person is a giving process. That line was one of his that made me stop short. Life for the whole person is a giving process. Just even our breath. We are constantly giving and receiving. We are not, you'll be happy to know, especially those of you who are here for the first time, that he says, and neither am I saying, that we are not talking specifically about church giving to charity and so forth. There are many ways, many channels through which your giving may be funneled. We're talking about attitudes toward life. The basic awareness that life is a matter of developing or unfolding from within. It is knowing that life is not something to get, but something to express. It is the fulfilling awareness that your business, whether ministry or substitute teaching or singing or working in an office, your business is always the express business, because we are here to express life. So how are you doing expressing your life? See a couple grimaces around me. I was grimacing myself, which is why this chapter hit me so hard. I love this next section that gave me the entry point, that actually helped me remember the power of what a teacher Kian has been for me. Butterworth says one of the most significant phrases in the Bible is wait on the Lord. It comes from the Hebrew word kavah, which means to bind together. But to wait on the Lord does not mean to sit down and fold your hands in faith that God will do it all for you. The fact is, God can do no more for you than God can do through you. Wait on the Lord means to get yourself integrated in consciousness with the divine flow. Before undertaking any project, wait on the Lord in conscious prayer. In conscious prayer. In a couple of weeks, we're going to vote for new board of trustee members. I have not been on a lot of boards, but I have got to tell you, I would be hard-pressed to find another board that does that. When we are faced with a decision, with a puzzle, with puzzlement about where to go and how to proceed, our goal, our job in that leadership circle is to slow things down, to align our consciousness with the consciousness of the divine givingness, and then to proceed, to be in creative partnership with the Creator. Before undertaking any project, wait on the Lord, then, is that conscious prayer, which we turn our thoughts inward. We establish ourselves in the flow. We become still and centered. Sense the creative energy of spirit tingling in your fingertips, guiding your hands, directing your footsteps, putting words into your mouth, helping you to do the things that need to be done, to do them easily and to do them well. Today, that was what I had hoped we might experience in some small way with that energetic tingling of our fingers in that meditation. That even in that way, our presence was doing what it needs to do and doing it well. Prosperity consciousness is kind of a tricky thing if we think of it as what we get. If I do all of the right thinking and I'm positive and I put it out in the universe, I'm going to have a beautiful mansion on Cold Storage Beach. But if it is not about what we get, but how we give our whole selves to our life expression, that shifts something really dramatically. And it also answers for me something that I have really struggled with that mindset. And that is where I found Eric Butterworth and Ogun Holder in conversation with each other. Ogun wrote an article, Decolonizing New Thought. The little subheading over the blurb of the article, our movement's teachings apply universally, but the often glossed over truth is that for some, the outcome doesn't live up to the promise of our principles. He goes on, and this is a very short excerpt from a very challenging, thought-provoking, heart-provoking article, and I encourage you to borrow the magazine from the library, subscribe to the magazine, but read this article. You manifest according to your faith is often felt that line, often felt as if an individual's experience was entirely their responsibility. And if it wasn't a positive one, they were blamed. How many of you have blamed yourself for something that did not work the way you envisioned it, as though it was all your responsibility? To be clear, this isn't just a new thought issue. He calls it a form of religious abuse and notes that it is found in all faith traditions. He also challenges us to think about the fact that it's a convenient bypass around questioning a faith's tenets and principles. The problem may not be with the tenets per se, with those beliefs, those statements per se, but with how those principles, universal principles, are taught as a one-size-fits-all panacea. The truth is that one-size-fits-all is not a thing. We don't all start from the same place. And while some of us have a clearer track ahead, the rest of us have near insurmountable burdens to overcome. So in our sense of how we are expressions of the givingness of the universe, we can also be aware that we have sisters and brothers around the world whose starting place has been different than our own. We can recognize our privilege. We can let that giving spirit call forth in us a way to be of service. We say it every week, to be of service in prayer in our community and the world. That tingling of sending that out, that love, that peace across the mountains and over the seas, and feeling that return is why we gather together, to strengthen ourselves to do the inside job that it always is, and then to show up and show the world that there is another vision. Okay, Phil, you can put that next slide up. Thank you, friend. This slide is not here to scare everybody, and that's why I waited to show it till now, because I do want you to trust that this is not me standing here to say, hey, y'all, you need to up your tithes. Because this gap, mind the gap, you see that on train stations and bus stations in the UK. Mind the gap. Our inflow and outflow, this is operating expenses, not the work that we said yes to outside, which was a different fund. We have an opportunity in all things, in the life of our community that we express, to trust that we are made in the image and likeness of divine givingness of the universe. This bar graph of in and out could just as easily represent, I am so lonely. And that's the big red bar. And the blue bar is how often I reach out to say, could you have dinner with me? I want to touch base with you. The red bar could be the number of hungry friends and neighbors we have in our city. And the blue bar is how much we reach out of our abundance for that. The red bar could be the lack of affordable housing, and that blue bar could be yet another luxury apartments going up somewhere in some suburb. How are we, as a community and individually, taking a life stance of giving of our whole selves, growing in our awareness that our entire lives are a way of giving back to God what we have received. Give smiles to strangers. Chat in line in the grocery store with somebody. Make those little connections. Give space between cars when you're in traffic. Don't be the person driving like this. Give a little space. Give to our loved ones, in our relationships, in forgiveness, in deep, deep listening, and in sacred truth-telling. Give by showing up in friendship. Give by the beautiful ways you show up in this community. Give by centering in quiet, centering in and letting ourselves be led. Give to our Mother Earth by making choices that heal and sustain our climate. Give so that soup kitchens and food pantries become obsolete. Give so that peace is where we live. No matter where we live, peace is where we live. Give from the ground of our being. Give to where our spirits are fed. Give with joy what we want to grow more of in the world. Let our sorrow and anger at injustices remind us, as Reverend Ogan does when he quotes Cornel West, that justice is what love looks like in public. But again, this is not a thinly veiled attempt at asking you to increase your dollar amount as that butterfly net goes by in a few minutes. You might be inspired to do that. We would gratefully, of course, accept that. But seeing with clarity where we stand fiscally is an invitation to center ourselves in the presence of God as a community, to release our outer concerns and allow the givingness of the universe, the all-loving presence of God to move in us, through us, and as us. So I'm asking us, each of us, myself included, to increase our sense of giving as a way of life, of facing life, a stance towards life, of choosing the power of love in all actions. Can you put the next slide up, Bill? Thank you so much. I'm asking us to recognize fear or anger in our own lives and what it might teach us, and then releasing it. Denying its power to hold us lost in a vortex of fear. And I'm going to ask you, one of the things we talked about on our Abundance and Prosperity Retreat is coming up with an affirmation that we might say as a community daily or as close to daily as you remember it. And this is where maybe you want to write this down. And this is absolutely adapted from Eric Butterworth. God is the divine givingness of the universe. My whole being is one with the divine flow. And as we say that affirmation daily, sensing whatever might be tingling in our left hand and the trust and love that tingles in our right hand, and bringing that together to center in prayer. Listening to that voice of the divine givingness and how it is calling us to express life in whatever season our life is in right now. What was mine to do in 2016 has shifted. What is mine to do in 2024 is different. The seasons of our life call for an expression that shifts in time. And so on the back of that affirmation, not right now, but take that home and be with it for a little bit. Center into prayer. What would your life expression be like if there is something that you can release? Notice the information it gives you, but release its powerful hold on you. That's the gift of a denial. Not that we have to be all light and bright and fluffy all the time, but that we don't stay locked in to the fear. And so I invite you now, as we close, to say this together out loud. God is the divine givingness of the universe. My whole being is one with the divine flow. And so it is. Amen.